Well, this morning on Fox and Friends, Donald Trump said the quiet part out loud.
Mr. President, you're going to be back on the campaign. Actually, you got another event to go to. So
yeah,
thank you for giving us some time.
You know, can't talk to anybody else about. Don't put on negative commercials for 21 days. Don't put them, and don't put on their horrible people that come and lie. I'm going to say, Rupert, please do it this way.
Right.
And then we're going to have a victory.
All right, we're 18 days out from the presidential election, so I'm not really sure where Donald Trump is getting 21 days from. Perhaps in Donald Trump's America, the election is on November 8th. But calendar mix-ups aside, Donald Trump's objective is clear. This was Donald Trump out loud on national television this morning, saying that he was going to meet with the owner of one of the nation's biggest cable channels and pressure him into not running any ads that criticize him or put on any guests who criticize him until the election is over. In any other presidential election in America, that would be a campaign-defining scandal. But with Trump, it's just Friday. It's hardly a blip on the radar. Just yesterday, Trump threatened the CBS News show 60 Minutes on Truth Social, referencing a fully fabricated scandal that he told 60 Minutes to release the tapes, saying, we can do it the nice way or the hard way. Now, as a presidential candidate, it's a pretty empty threat. But as president, it's not. Trump is very clearly telegraphing what he will do to the media if he regains power. He wants the media to bend to his will or pay the price. And again, he has been saying that over and over and over again, out loud and on camera.
I go a step further. It's so bad they should lose their license and they should take 60 Minutes off the air.
The New York Times is one of the most dishonest of all. I watch this New York Times, and it's a classic. Wait till you see what I'm going to do with them. You're going to have so much fun. I think ABC took a big hit last night. I mean, to be honest, they're a news organization. They have to be licensed to do it. They ought to take away their license for the way they did that.
This is not normal, at least not in a democracy. So I think it's appropriate to ask the question, is it time to start using the F word?
Donald Trump is about taking us backward.
The other is about fascism. Why can't we just say it?
Yes, we can say that.
Yeah. All week, Donald Trump has been given opportunity after opportunity to either downplay or clarify his comments about what he called the enemy from within. Conservative press keeps handing him off-ramps to give him a chance to say that he didn't really mean it when he said he thinks the American military should be turned against American citizens with whom he disagrees. But Donald Trump keeps doubling down. In fact, here he was, again, just this morning.
I think we have more of an enemy from within than we do from outside. You know, if you have a smart president, they talk about China and Russia and everything else. If you have a smart president, they're not going to be the problem. We have a bigger problem from within, and they hate it. I noticed today they were saying, he said the enemy from within. Of course, it's Adam Schiff. These are bad people.
Donald Trump is not backtracking. He is saying overtly outright that he would like to use the U.S. military to go after his political enemies, people like the Democratic congresswoman man that he just named, Adam Schiff. And while Trump wants to use the government to go after his political enemies, listen to how he is speaking about the January 6th rioters, the violent group of his supporters who attacked our nation's capital in a bid to keep him in power. This is not old footage that I'm about to show you. This is Donald Trump talking about the January 6th rioters today.
Why are they still being held? Nobody's ever been treated like this. Nobody's ever, maybe the Japanese during Second World War, frankly, but, you know, they were held too.
Trump is comparing the January 6th rioters to the Japanese Americans who were interned in camps in America during World War II. The January 6th rioters attacked our nation's capital. They physically attacked police officers. They destroyed government property. The Japanese Americans who were interned during World War II did absolutely nothing wrong. They were simply rounded up by their government because they were of Japanese descent. And Donald Trump sees those two groups as equally victimized. And while Donald Trump thinks the January 6th rioters facing time for their crimes is an outrage, he actually does want to use the arcane, more than 200-year-old law that was used by the United States government to imprison the Japanese. The law is called the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, and Trump wants to use it to round up, imprison, and deport more than 11 million people.
Immediately upon taking the oath of office, I will launch the largest deportation program in American history. I have no choice. I will rescue every town across America that's been invaded and conquered, and I will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country, which is my #1 choice. I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. That's where we had to go, to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil.
That was Donald Trump just 25 minutes ago tonight. Think about what Trump is proposing would really look like. Millions and millions of people ripped from the streets and their homes by law enforcement all across the country. And I know Trump tries to make that sound more reasonable by saying that the people he would be targeting are criminals. But the thing to keep in mind there is that Trump thinks that all immigrants he doesn't like are criminals. Here he was last week talking about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, whom he knows are in America legally.
I mean, look at Springfield, where 30,000 illegal immigrants are dropped, and they may have done it through a certain little trick, but they are illegal immigrants as far as I'm concerned.
They're illegal immigrants because Donald Trump feels like they should be illegal immigrants. That little trick, that made them actual legal immigrants. Whether it's the press or his political enemies or immigrants, the pattern here is exactly the same. Donald Trump is planning to use the powers of the United States government, the military, the police, the Justice Department, you name it, to go after any person or group that he perceives as his enemy, whether or not they've actually done anything wrong. And he's not being shy about it. In fact, he's campaigning about it out in the open. As Ann Applebaum writes today in The Atlantic, Donald Trump is speaking like Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini for a reason. Because he and his campaign team believe that by using the tactics of the 1930s, they can win.
We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin. They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison. People are coming in with disease. People are coming in with every possible thing that you can have. What's happening to our country is we're just destroying the fabric of life in our country, and we're not going to take it any longer. And you got to get rid of these people. If I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, no, other than day one. I think that, frankly, people, regardless, should take, if they're 50 or 40, or I think people should take cognitive tests, not because of the age, but because of something else.
Something else? What's the something else? Now, considering all that, it should probably come as a little surprise that Trump has canceled a number of mainstream interviews in the final stretch of the campaign. His team is citing exhaustion, and for anyone who's been following along, there's no doubt that Donald Trump really is tired. And again, I get it. As the Harris Walls campaign noted on social media, quote, an exhausted Trump appeared to fall asleep during his campaign event in Michigan today. At that same event, he even complained about having to campaign.
How about we'll go through it pretty quick, Dale, and then I'm going over to make a little speech in front of 10,000 people. You think this is an easy life I have, right? I go from here, I say, am I finished? They say, no, sir, you have one more speech. Oh, good, where is it? What is it, 20 minutes, 30 minutes away?
He does not look like he's enjoying himself. Now, Donald Trump has always been one of the absolute weirder figures in American public life. He's always said really disgusting and bigoted things, and he has never hit his authoritarian desire. So none of that's new. But even grading on a curve for him, it seems as though every time he gets in front of a microphone these days, what comes out of his mouth is a combination of incoherent and offensive.
I was so amazed that Harvey Weinstein got schlonged. He got hit as hard as you can get hit because he was sort of the king of the woke, right?
Lincoln was probably a great president, although I've always said, why wasn't that settled? You know,
but was that the DNC when a pipe bomb was outside?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Why does they say, oh, yes, we're building cars? They don't build cars. They take them out of a box and they assemble them. We could have our child do it.
It's a rigged deal. The whole thing is rigged. Why are they still being held? Nobody's ever been treated like this. Nobody's ever. Maybe the Japanese during Second World War, frankly. But, you know, they were held, too.
I think we have more of an enemy from within than we do from outside. These are bad people. These are sick people and bad people.
Is cocaine a stronger
Oh, yeah.
up?
Yeah. Cocaine will make
So you're way up with cocaine more than anything else you can think of.
What's your favorite farm animal?
I'll tell you what I love. I love cows. But if we go with Kamala, you won't have any cows. I like conversation. I don't seem to get myself in much trouble.
Now, just to be clear, when he was talking to I think it was Dan Bongino, about who it was that was treated like the Japanese in internment, he was referring to the January 6th folks who've been arrested and prosecuted and imprisoned for attempting to sack the Capitol. That's who he was comparing to the Japanese who were interned. Now, so all of that, you get a little sense there. That's how Donald Trump's campaign is going. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, is running a very active campaign. She's taking every opportunity to highlight the contrast between her and Trump.
Now he is ducking debates and canceling interviews. Come on. And check this out. His own campaign team recently said it is because of exhaustion. Well, if you are exhausted on the campaign trail, it raises real questions about whether you are fit for the toughest job in the world. Come on.
Donald Trump's response today likely did little to assuage concerns about his fitness for office.
What event did I cancel? I haven't canceled. She doesn't go to any events. She's a loser. She doesn't go to any events. She didn't even show up for the Catholics last night at the hotel. It was insulting. All they are is sound bites. So today I was at Fox and Friends at 7 in the morning. I then went to 2 different other appearances. I then made about 15 phone calls. I've gone 48 days now without arrest. And I've got that loser who doesn't have the energy of a rabbit.
Now, that's, of course, a lie. Kamala Harris does tons of media, including the traditional outlets that Trump dodges. She even sat down for a very adversarial interview with Fox News just this week. In fact, a key part of that campaign is showing voters exactly what Donald Trump has been saying. She did so again today, because there's simply no denying that her 78-year-old opponent is incoherent and exhausted and floundering on the campaign trail with less than 2 weeks to go. Seems like maybe a bad idea to have him on the country, but what do I know?
He just decided, you know what, I'm going to stop taking questions, and then he's swaying to Ave Maria and YMCA. For about half an hour, folks are standing there not sure what's happening. Can you imagine if I did that? You would be worried if your grandpa was acting like this. So imagine it coming from a guy who wants to be given unchecked power. Tucson, we do not need to see what an older, loonier Donald Trump looks like with no guardrails.
President Obama in Tucson, Arizona tonight as the Harris campaign brings out the heavy hitters for these final days of the